States. Uh, Indian Chamber of Commerce is a premier body of business and industry in India, set up in 1925 by a group of pioneering industrialists. The chamber has been functioning efficiently in building meaningful synergies among the industry and government by addressing strategic issues of national significance. It has been instrumental in facilitating better commerce within the country. Welcome everyone to the India-US Trade Network. As part of a larger initiative of ICC called the World Investors Confluence, India-US Trade Network is organized in association with the US State Department, Ludong County, and the Indian Embassy in Washington. May I request Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, past Chairman, Indian Chamber of Commerce, to please take the session forward with our esteemed guests.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Nair.
Yeah.
Good evening to all of you listening from India. Good morning to all of you who are listening from the United States. Special welcome to Dr. Manoj Mahapatra, Minister Commerce for the Indian Embassy, Mr. Robert McCullough, International Business Development Manager, Loudoun County, Virginia. We are looking forward to the special address by Chief Guest, Mr. Alexander Gazis, India Economic Unit Chief, Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, US State Department. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I think the fact that the opportunities between India and US as trading partners is massive is not something that I have to convince any of the members who are listening in. But I think what is special is the reasons for trading are just amplifying every day. Let's talk about some aspects of our special relationship between these two countries. India, and I'll focus on just a couple because I want obviously to give more time to the guests following me. But just talking about energy and technology, for example. United States over the last few years has become the world's largest oil supplier, surpassing Saudi Arabia, world largest gas supplier, surpassing Russia. And India is on its way to becoming one of the largest energy consumers. A world where India consumes energy from the United States without being dependent on Middle East and having, cementing the special relationship between these countries is a massive opportunity. Let's talk about technology. We are all locked down, most of the world still locked down, yet the GDP of the world has operated at 90 to 95%, in some cases 100%, of a physically active traveling world. This wouldn't have been possible without giants in technology. And most of those companies are in the United States or in some cases in India, but in both cases, a collaboration between India and the United States. And that is a fundamental nature of our business, that the people-to-people connection between these two countries, more than business to business and government to government, is the strong glue between our two nations. In terms of India's focus on becoming an Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is a manufacturing base both for the home market and for exports, the exports would be to the consumer of last resort, which is the United States. I am myself a business person exporting to the United States. There's no better country to sell to, do business with. And I think the relationship that these two countries have had, as strong, vibrant, sometimes very noisy democracies, but it is a relationship that has sustained over the years in all aspects, whether it is in coming to each other's aid during times of need, as United States and India have always done, or welcoming students who for the first time leave their shores and land up in a foreign country, or doing business together. It is a relationship of friends, and partners. I welcome, on behalf of Indian Chamber of Commerce, this excellent program today and look forward to hearing the esteemed panelists that follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Chatterjee.
another good morning, from USA to my colleagues. They are in India, and good morning also my colleagues who are in the embassy as well as colleagues from the Loudoun County and the State Department. Very Happy New Year also as we are meeting in the beginning of the year. Happy New Year as Mr. Rudra mentioned, yes, without the help of the technology, it would not have been possible for us to meet on this virtual platform. Before that, I would like to thank ICC for giving us the opportunity to speak, plus agreeing to organize this event. I think as Mr. Rudra mentioned, it has been postponed since last April to the January this year. And I would like to thank ICC and Mr. Rudra Chatterjee. I would also like to thank the Loudoun County. They have been always been supportive, and I would like to thank Mr. Robert. And I would also like to thank Mr. Alexander Gajis from the State Department. Always, whenever there is a need, we go to the State Department, and even if also it was postponed frequently, but still, Mr. Gaji agreed to speak to our colleagues. So thank you very much, Mr. Gaji. And once again, thank you to Mr. Prabhu, the chairman ICC, for partnering with the Indian Embassy in this event. So when we are discussing about the Indo-US trade, I would be saying it is an absolute privilege and delight to be addressing this event organized by the ICC. And we are meeting today at a significant time. Significant time means the USA has recently surpassed China to become India's largest trading partner. And since 2010, our bilateral trade has nearly doubled. Our relationship has evolved into a comprehensive global strategic partnership. Today, as Mr. Rudra mentioned, that the USA is actively engaged in the fields of not only in the political, defense, or strategic, but also the energy, education, science and technology, people to people. Here, I would like to give an example like that. Even if also despite the pandemic situation, and from January to May, our export was declining, but I think since June, it has on a positive path, and our exports to USA is increasing. Similarly, also US exports to India. The the bilateral trade between US and India stands at the 149 billion US dollar according to the 2019 figure. And on the investment front, also the relationship is also increasing. While the USA has invested nearly 45 billion US dollar in India and has more than 2,000 companies based in India. And of late, India has also started investing in USA. And currently we have more than 23 billion US dollar of investment here in USA. And the study that was done recently by the CIA. So when we are discussing that, we postponed our the visit by the ICC due to COVID. So the COVID pandemic situation has also resulted in something positive for India also. The global disruption in international trade has led to a seismic shift in the global supply chains. As companies move to secure their supply chains and enhance resiliency, India is emerging as a trusted trading partner. I have heard calls from industry to recognize the importance of shifting global chains to India, as India is demographically well positioned to support this shift given its existing manufacturing footprint in pharmaceuticals, chemicals, textiles, defense, and auto. India is also home to the world's youngest workforce, a robust democracy, the second highest number of STEM graduates. India is also undergoing a rapid change in its operating mindsets as well as its economy. The government has embarked on a journey of empowering the industry by pursuing deregulation and decriminalization of various offenses under the Companies Act. This business-friendly policies have led to India rising from 81 to 48 in the Global Innovation Index rankings in the last 5 years. India has also risen from 142 to 63 in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings in the last 5 years. The results of these improvements are there for everyone to see. These incremental changes in India's foundational economy is slowly unleashing the potential for India business in the international market. With these words, once again, I would like to welcome all our participants to today's event. And I would once again wish best of luck for ICC. And in the future also, we would be organizing some events for ICC, because whenever they used to come, we organize 2 days of event. And on this platform, we would be organizing only for the 1 or 2 events, but we would be looking forward to organize similar events with other partners. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Dr. Mahapatra, for your valuable speech. May I request Mr. Robert Bob McCullough from International Business Development Manager from Loudoun County to please give your keynote address.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone in America and everyone in India. For those of you who are saying, what's Loudoun County? Let me just give you a little bit of a background. The reason that Loudoun County is so significant is that in Loudoun County, we have the 2 internet giants back in the 80s and 90s, AOL, America Online, and WorldCom, brought the internet into people's homes and to the government. They're 1 mile apart in Loudoun County. And Loudoun County is right outside Washington, D.C. And because the internet started here, we have all these IT companies that settled here. It's called DC's Technology Corridor. And so because of that, we have all this fiber that's underground in Loudoun County, making it ideal for internet companies. Over the years, what has happened is that more and more data centers have put their locations here in Loudoun County. We now have more data centers than anywhere in the world. And you heard that correctly, not just America, in the world. We have over 100 of them. It's estimated that 75 to 80% of the world's internet traffic comes through Loudoun County every single day. Everybody from Google to Facebook to Amazon to Microsoft to Visa, every company you've heard of has a data center here in Loudoun County. That's one of the reasons that we're so ideal for IT. It's no secret to anybody that IT is very important to the Indian community. So what's happened is that more and more people from India have immigrated to Loudoun County. It is our fastest growing demographic. And we now have over 60,000 people of Indian descent here in Loudoun. And I realize to a country over 1 billion in population, 60,000 does not sound like very much. But for a county of 400,000 people, 60,000 is actually quite significant. And they have established multiple businesses here. One of the reasons is because of DC. Washington, DC is very international. Loudoun County is very international. But also, let me state, it's not just the internet and IT industry. It's our Washington Dulles International Airport. One of the Indian companies we're very proud of is called Ideal Cures. And Ideal Cures chose Loudoun County because of the international airport. Pharmaceutical is the #1 import into the Washington Dulles International Airport of anything else in the world. It's pharmaceutical. A lot of those capsules come from India, and I mean a lot. Because of the Washington Dulles Airport, not only are we strong in pharmaceutical, we're also strong in aerospace. So that's one of the things that we're focusing on today is IT, aerospace, and pharmaceutical medical, because this location is ideal for all of those industries. A fun little fact for you, because we're #1 in the world in data centers, and I don't know if many of you people know how data centers work. You have all these servers inside these data centers. And the way the taxation works here in America is property tax is collected by the county. You have income tax, you have sales tax, but property tax is collected by the county. And the data centers, because of all the servers being taxed as well, have provided over $400 million a year in taxes to the county. I'll repeat that number, $400 million every year, and it's only growing. So because COVID-19 hit everybody so hard, a lot of businesses were really struggling. And so the tax revenue from the data centers enabled us to provide assistance to thousands of Loudoun businesses. We spend millions of dollars keeping them afloat. And it's all because of the revenue that we had a $90 million surplus from the taxes from data centers. So that's very rare in America to have a surplus in the county revenue, but we did. And it sure came in handy during COVID. I also wanted to address the importance of having the Embassy of India so close. I've done multiple events with the Embassy of India. They're always very respectful, very helpful. Multiple delegations have come in from India who I've met with for business, with trade and international business and locations in America. And I really want to extend a thankful gratitude to the people at the Embassy of India for always being so helpful. And I always enjoy the events I do there. I am looking at the clock because I've gone on for my extended time period. I'm supposed to end on this minute. So I will end by saying thank you very much for including me on your webinar today. And it's a pleasure to meet everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. Those numbers are actually pretty impressive. May I request Mr. Alexander Ghazi, in the India Economic Unit Chief, Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs, US State Department, to please give your special address.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, good morning and good evening to folks in India. I want to first just start by thanking the Indian Chamber of Commerce and also the Embassy of India for inviting me to participate in this event. I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to connect with members of the business community. And as a resident of Loudoun County, I'm happy to have a fellow resident of Loudoun County participating as well. I'm going to speak a little bit generally about the bilateral relationship between the U.S. and India, and then focus a bit more on economic trade and investment ties, and where maybe note some areas of opportunity, some of which others have already mentioned. So the U.S. and India, some people have described it as the most consequential bilateral relationship of the 21st century. It really is a very broad relationship where we engage in many, many different areas. We are calling it the U.S.-India Comprehensive Global Strategic Partnership. And it includes engagement at the highest level through particularly the 2+2 ministerials that we have, and also with other countries through the Quad, which brings together India, Japan, and Australia with the United States. Our partnership is grounded in our shared commitment to democratic traditions, rule of law, freedom of navigation, and private sector-led economic growth. We really cooperate in just about any area that you can think of. It includes defense, nuclear non-proliferation, diplomatic and security issues, counterterrorism, energy, peacekeeping, the environment, health, education, science and technology, agriculture, space, and oceans. One of the things that makes our relationship so strong is the people-to-people ties that others have mentioned. We have nearly 4 million Indian Americans who call the United States home. They contribute to our communities, to our economy, and many serve our country in uniform. And a good number of them are based here in Loudoun County. This is a relationship that has really expanded and through many different US and Indian administrations, continues to enjoy bipartisan support in the United States. We've seen this in, there have been some forums last month, for example, where there were Democratic and Republican co-chairs of the India caucus in our Congress who were very very much in sync in terms of advocating for a stronger U.S.-India relationship. So it is something I would emphasize we can be very confident that the current trajectory of stronger relations will continue. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the trends in our economic ties. Our trade and investment relationship has really grown steadily over the last decade. We had roughly $60 billion in bilateral trade in goods and services in 2009. It has grown to more than 146 billion in 2019. And as others have noted, the US has become India's largest trading partner. Investment has also grown steadily, and we are also a leading source of investment in India with total investment stock of almost 46 billion in 2019. Even in the last year, where both of our economies have been impacted by COVID-19 and measures to contain the pandemic, we've still seen an increase in US investment into India. Several leading US firms have announced billions of dollars of new investments in India in 2020 amid the pandemic. So this is really a strong sign of confidence by the private sector in our bilateral relationship. I want to maybe cite a few sectors where we have seen really strong growth and great potential. Others have mentioned energy cooperation has really taken off in recent years, particularly as the United States has become a major exporter of gas and oil and gas. US energy exports grew to more than $8 billion in 2019. As the US has helped India meet its growing energy demand, while also helping them shift to cleaner sources of energy. We have a US-India strategic energy partnership where we collaborate on natural gas, renewable energy, nuclear energy, clean coal technology, smart grids, unconventional and clean energy sources research. It's one of the things when I took on this position and had an energy briefing, I was struck by just the broad scope of work that we're doing together on energy. In 2020 alone, the US Development Finance Corporation approved, I think it was at least $500 million in new investments in solar energy projects. That's just to cite one example. Second area that has become very important currently is in the area of health. The United States and India are partnering to strengthen the global response to COVID-19, including through our ability to prevent, detect, and respond to infectious diseases. There are at least 7 US pharmaceutical companies and academic institutions that are partnering with Indian companies on vaccines. This builds on years of cooperation between the US and Indian institutions in the area of healthcare, including treatments and vaccines. So this partnership will really play an important role in helping the world to recover from COVID-19. A third area where I think has a lot of growth potential is in space and science and space cooperation. We have a growing commercial space relationship. US companies have used India's polar satellite launch vehicle to launch nano and microsatellites into low Earth orbit. Others have mentioned aerospace as an area where there are already growing commercial relationships between US firms and Indian firms. And we see this as a growth area for the future, for sure. And then fourth, of course, others have mentioned this, the IT industry is a particularly important for both of our economies. And that relationship between our IT industries has helped both countries become global leaders in the IT industry. So as both of our countries are striving to recover from COVID-19, I think that this trade and investment relationship will be more important than ever. As others have noted, the COVID pandemic has really brought an increased interest in the issue of how to diversify supply chains. And India really should be well positioned to take advantage of greater interest in the private sector of developing diverse supply chains. I want to maybe mention a few priorities to really take advantage of that opportunity and bring our trade and investment relationship to a new level. Some things that priorities that we can focus on. First, we want to support open market policies that will help stimulate growth and help make Indian producers more competitive. History generally shows that countries with open markets tend to experience higher rates of economic growth. So supporting policies that reduce tariffs and will tend to generally make economies more competitive and in the long run strengthen their position. India already has many world-class companies that compete globally, and so they generally do not need tariffs but more open market policies will help more of these companies emerge. Secondly, as all of you know, as members of the business community, private sector companies, one of the things that they tell us most frequently is what they want is sort of a very stable, predictable regulatory environment. So the more that we can do to provide that environment, the more the private sector will thrive. India, I would note, has made concerted efforts to improve their World Bank Doing Business ranking in recent years. They've risen from 130th position to 63rd, I think, in 2020. So that is very welcome, and all things like that can help provide a more predictable environment and make it easier for companies to do business is very welcome. A third area of focus is in developing quality infrastructure. So the more that we can develop sustainable transportation, port, and digital infrastructure, this is vital also to strengthening the competitiveness of Indian firms in Indian global markets. This is one reason we joined the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which India is leading. And there are a number of other international initiatives to support sustainable infrastructure. And then finally, I would note that policies, several have noted the IT industry as particularly important. And so policies for the IT industry that will help sustain innovation and growth are really important for the future. There are certainly new policy challenges that have arisen due to the evolution of IT. And so our government, the Indian government, many governments around the world are wrestling with the challenges of developing appropriate privacy policies, data protection policies, but while also trying to ensure that data flows continue and that policies will maintain the innovation and growth that has helped both of our economies. So finding the right balance in that area is going to be very important. With that, yeah, just so in conclusion, we want to support open markets, stable regulatory environment, quality infrastructure, and sound technology policies. Then really the sky is the limit to further increasing our trade and investment relationship with India. And I think India should be very well positioned to take advantage of the greater interest in diversifying supply chain. With that, I want to thank you again for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure to join your conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gazis. If I may ask one question based on your talk, it was very illuminating, and I fully appreciate the great opportunities between India and United States and fully agree, as does the chamber, that having open trading relationship is of paramount importance. When Indian Chamber visited United States 2 years ago, we actually saw the GSP preference being removed from US at that time. And since then, we've been raising this issue that India being a close trading partner to United States, the GSP preference should be returned. And in that, is there any opportunity or potential of that happening?
So thank you for that question. I know that both of our governments have been working through the last couple of years to negotiate over that very issue. And I think they've made a lot of progress. As you may understand, GSP, part of it's, it's this unilateral trade preference program, and part of under that program, it has some of the criteria relate to market access. And so the determination was made a couple of years ago that we were not seeing enough progress on reciprocal market access to meet that criteria. And so I think that they've been trying to negotiate a package that would help to meet that criteria. I think that the U.S. Trade Representative has had the lead in those negotiations. What they've said is, they've made progress. Right now, as we're in a transition, I think we're going to have to see, where the new U.S. Trade Representative takes those negotiations. But we're still hopeful. I think that the interest on both sides remains in making that, in trying to reach a limited deal that would allow for restoring GSP. So my expectation is that effort will continue, and we hope that it will reach a positive conclusion at some point.
Thank you, Mr. Gazis. Mr. McCollar, one question, one thing that we are seeing as business people, obviously, is the massive amount of increase in e-commerce sales. And with many Indian companies looking for warehousing space, third-party logistics provider in United States, and given that your county is home to one of the large airports, and close to the eastern seaboard, where a lot of the demand emanates from, is there an opportunity? And if so, the chamber would love to tell its members how Indian business can use Loudoun County infrastructure to have warehousing and form businesses for selling to United States.
Yes, good question. We are ideal for e-commerce companies. And privately, I will tell you some of them because I don't want to tip off the competition. But we are currently recruiting an Indian e-commerce company right now. They're intrigued by the fact that we're so IT focused in all these data centers. One thing I did not include because I wanted to stick to my time limit on my talk, but when the Google CTO was here talking about why they're building a second data center in Loudoun County, he said that because there's so many data centers here, the internet traffic travels at 1,000 times faster than the American average. I'll repeat that, 1,000 times faster. So it's just ideal for that. And also, we try not to make this too public because we're afraid we're going to scare people away. But a fun statistic is that we have the highest income of any county in America. There's over 3,000 counties in America, and we have the highest income for 14 years in a row. We're afraid we scare companies away because they think, oh, I can't afford to pay my employees that much. But the reason I bring it up is because that really is music to e-commerce companies' ears, that there's so much excess capital, shall we say, here in this area. And finally, I'll also say, one of the things that's ideal for here is that we are right at the border of the world's largest customer, the United States federal government, which buys a lot. There's nobody who purchases more on this planet than the US federal government. So I feel like we're ideal for e-commerce companies.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I request Mr. Ameya Prabhu, Chairman ICC Western Region, to please give a small closing remark.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Ratish, and thank you everyone for being on our panel today. I think the US-India relationship is one of paramount importance in the world, given that we are the two largest democracies in the world. And I do believe that our trading relationship between the India and the US is an extremely important one. I think that in the next few years, with the new Biden administration taking over next week, we do believe that free trade will be back on the table. We do believe that there will be a more, and we do believe and hope that there will be a more pronounced focus back on multilateralism, back of a focus on the WTO, and also in terms of building deeper trade relationships which are based on equality and parity, wherein both countries can benefit, and it becomes a two-way street rather than a one-way street. And I think we do hope that because, of course, at the end of the day, the United States is a country we've always looked up to. And despite the minor hiccups in the recent weeks, we do believe that the US still continues to be a leader of the free world and also of free trade. So we do hope that the Biden administration and the new USTR, as well as the new US Commerce Secretary, does focus a lot on the India-US relationship and take it forward. Furthermore, I think that one of India's greatest exports to the US has also been human capital. And we have very senior not just senior executives in the US that we talk about, such as Sundar Pichai or Satya Nadella, but even mid-level executives in the US across streams who have greatly contributed to the rise of the US economy. And I do hope that this inter-country transfer of people continues, which will benefit both countries. And I am personally a big fan of the US, and I do believe that the closer our relationships are in the coming years, the better we can build a freer and a more strong, a more pronounced world in terms of trade going forward. In my capacity as the Western Region Chairperson of the Indian Chamber of Commerce, we were actually meant to go to the US just before the lockdown happened in April last year on a delegation, along with then Chairman Mayank Jalan and Dr. Singh. And I do hope that we can do that later this year, post the pandemic. I must congratulate the US on the rollout of the vaccines that they've done. I think it's largest in the world so far. And while things might seem challenging now, I do hope that in the second half of the year, things do ease up and people-to-people contact and trade and commerce can start again, because I think the US can most certainly be India's main trading partner for both goods and services. But also, I think one of the greatest exports of US has been the focus on liberty and democracy, and I do hope that also continues in the years forward, because we would really be poor without the US's leadership. Thank you so much, everyone, and really thank you for being here for this panel.
A special thanks to all the panelists that are there with us today, Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, for chairing the session, Dr. Manoj Mahapatra, Minister of Commerce, Indian Embassy in Washington, Mr. Robert Bob McCullough, International Business Development Manager from Loudoun County, and Mr. Alexander Gazil, India Economic Unit Chief, Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs from the US State Department, and Ameya Prabhu. Thanks a lot for being today. A recorded version of this particular session will be available on the ICC YouTube page, and please do visit our website icc-wic.com for all the other updates on the India Business Forums and the trade networks that we are planning henceforth, and the ones that we've done until now. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Dr. Mahapatra, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gazis. Thank you, Mr. McCullough. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Likewise.